I'm making my way to Holly, Michigan to ProPride to purchase our ProPride hitch for the Airstream.
Gonna take you for a ride in my brand new car. My brand new car, my brand new car. Gonna take you for a ride in my brand new car. My brand new car, my brand new car. Gonna show you how the shifter feels, 'cause tonight is the night that we make it real. Gonna take you for a ride in my brand new car. My brand new car, my brand new car. Gonna take you in my brand new ride, 'cause I got a new car and the keys are inside. I'm gonna take you for a ride in my brand new car.
Our two machine centers, we have a 5-axis dual spindle lathe that can pretty much take any one of our round parts and take it from stock to a finished part once the machine completes a cycle. So there's no taking the part out, rotating it around, there's none of that. So as the machine's cycling through the material, we have a bar feeder back here that we put all our bars in, and that's all the bar stock to make a hitch ball.
Okay.
So what this is making, what it's loading right now, is material to make this right here. This is our hitch ball. It's our 2 5/16 hitch ball. Right now, it's currently set up to run our jack tubes. This is our bar feeder is feeding in this material, but we're hand loading jack tubes in here. And what we're doing here, instead of us hand drilling these on a Bridgeport, we have it come in and actually I'll show you how to run one right now. We load this in our collet right here. And these are a longer part, that's why we can't use the bar feeder.
Okay.
Otherwise we'd get like 3 pieces out of a stick and it would constantly be cycling and we'd have a lot of scrap. So we load this in here, we just clamp it, we hit start, and what it's gonna do is it's gonna shut the door. Our turret tool head is gonna come down. And when it comes down, the door is gonna open one more time. Now I know how to set where my part's gonna be, because the machine doesn't know where the part is.
Okay.
So I put it up against the stop. I'm gonna clamp it one more time. We start again. And what's so special about this lathe is it's a live tool, dual axis. So what we're doing is we have a spindle up here spinning a part, and we have a spindle in the back. And all these tools in here, some of them are live tools. Like right now, that's just a turning tool, like on a traditional lathe. The same thing here, it's doing the outer dimension, it's doing the inner dimension. Now it's gonna come up here with a end mill. And this is what makes this machine very unique, is it actually has a rotating head, and you can actually see it's doing manipulation to drill a hole. Versus, on a traditional lathe, it's spinning the part.
Okay.
On this one here, we're actually just rotating the part and indexing it while it's machining the holes in it. Those holes are used to insert another machine part in, and we plug weld it.
Okay.
And it deburs the end of the tubes, it rounds it over, so that when it comes out, it's a finished part. We don't have to do any secondary operations, just go straight to welding.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so right now the door's gonna open one more time. And what it wants me to do now, so this is what we get. This edge is nice and clean. The inside edge is nice and clean. Like when I say clean, there's no burr, there's no sharp edge.
Right.
It bores these holes in here, and it bores in a certain dimension because we don't want any welding towards a thread. There's actually a part that inserts in here and it's threaded.
Okay.
And this is the part in your jack that raises up and down on your hitch.
Okay.
This is what pulls your weight distribution bars.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That threaded part in here, if you introduce any heat or weld around it, it's going to deform the threads. We weld up here, the threads are down here, so it doesn't interfere with any of the threads, and it moves very freely.
Excellent.
And then the other end of this, we just flip it back in here and we kind of start the process over because there's another hole that goes in here. Most of our parts aren't as hands-on as this one. This is our most hands-on part in this machine. The reason why I say that is usually it's using this back spindle back here to do the other operation.
Okay.
Once it's done over here, it comes forward, this tray comes out, it catches it and throws it in our door. This door right here will catch all the parts machine.
Oh,
And
excellent.
it just keeps running. All we got to do is grab it out of there, we can clean it, we do a QC check on it, and then it gets put in our bin to go to welding.
Okay.
And this will just do the same thing, and we'll clean up the other tube, bore a couple holes in it, and then it's a finished tube. Yeah, it indexes the turret, brings in a different tool. And then what's unique, like usually on a lathe, when you're turning a part, you want to be zero on it this way, right? When you're turning. Otherwise, if you're up too high, it can pull a chatter. If you're down too low, it's going to be skipping off. What's cool about this one is it actually will do that in order to bore any type of hole or shape anything you want in any material. That's what's so unique about this particular model of machine. This mill down here produces all of our hitch bars. A part we call a steering link, which is kind of the secret sauce to our hitch, our anti-sway part. Yes, yeah. Magic part. There's the whole hitch pivots on two arms. The two arms I'm talking about, we slang call them steering links. This actually machines it. This is the profile of that part right here, and we precision bore the holes in it for the spindles that you see down there that were threaded. But that's what we machine on here. We'll come in and we'll drill these holes, then we'll actually machine it to size. It will, while it's laying like this, chamfer here.
Okay.
Come through, reach to the other side, chamfer the back side, and do the same thing over here, all without flipping the part. It can actually reach through, do the chamfer, and then come out.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is our custom forged box that goes on our hitch bar.
Right, that's what the stinger goes into.
Yep. This is actually this is a part of the stinger.
Okay.
So this is your stinger part, and we actually have a larger forging that this actually inserts into. So this is actually on your hitch bar. That's what's on here in our fixture right now.
Okay.
So all of our fixtures are like a progressive fixture. So every time the machine rotates out, you have one part that comes out. The rest of the parts have to shift over a station in the fixture, and then you reload parts into the empty spots. Every time it rolls out, I get a part. I get a part every time, and we clean it and grind it and whatever you gotta do to get it to go to paint. These are blasted bars. This is cleaned off with no mill scale on them. After we machine our bevels in it. And then this one is all loaded up. Let's go fire up on fuel extractor.
Some of the fun things too while he's doing that, we'll talk about, like, this was something that a customer talked about. So we used to be squared off. We had a customer like ask about it because they were milling their own like this. Once they got it, we were like, we can actually do that now. So why not just implement it into the construction of it? So when we did this, about a year and a half ago, probably roughly. So now we ship everything with one of these things. So it just makes it easier for sliding in and getting into a main operation.
We're already doing this machining on the one end, so we just started doing it on the other end also for
make it easier to get in.
a couple.
But it's nice to be able to do that because we manufacture it, so we can make those changes and everything is go with it.
Going on over here, these are our jack bodies. This is the main component to our lifting jacks and the weight distribution.
Okay.
These are all pre-cut, laser cut, and we tumble these parts before they go in the welding fixture. Those tubes that we're machining over there, that's what's going into this body right here. It's the same thing. It's a progressive fixture. You start at one station, the part works its way through. Every time it rotates in and another fixture comes out, we get a part out. We put them on the bench here. He inspects them. They come out relatively clean. We don't have to do too much, what they call as knocking the BBs off and a little weld spatter.
Yeah.
Because we pulse make weld with our robots. So it's a pulse make technology. It's kind of close to spray transfer arc welding, if you're familiar with that. But it's using pulse. And what that does, it gets us a really good penetration and almost next to no spatter. Spatter's a big deal for us because we had to clean that off. It looks imperfections in the paint, and you'll see all the little BBs. So when they come out of there, he scrapes off and cleans anything that is on the part while it's still running. And if you want to walk over the side, you can actually watch it run. Well, not the best view, but it is running right now. We can actually probably this is pretty much our welding department. We still do some hand welding, like our OCLs that is our straps that we use to hitch up the hitch. We hand weld those. There's a few components that we have to do a pre-weld to before they can go in the fixture, because the robot can only manipulate so far in there, and that fixture is kind of congested. So there is some things we have to hand weld before it goes in there. But most of it, 98% of it, is robotically welded. These robots actually mimic how we used to hand weld them. With how they're programmed. Our wire speed and feeds are all the same as how we used to hand weld them. All of our customers love how they turn out. They love the weld quality they get out of all the boards. You get a smooth weld all the way around this base like this.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It turns out really, really well. So the part that's on the stinger that we've seen on the hitch bar fixture will insert in here. These angles match on it. It gives you a much bigger opening to align your hitch when you're backing into your trailer to cut
Sure.
it off. So that's the other part. This gets welded in our main unit.
That's something we innovated about 2.5 years ago now, probably.
When we switched to automation, when it came to automating the welding part of it, we had to kind of relook and revamp the hitch. So it's been constantly improved over the years, but we went through a big overhaul in the hitch in 2020 to make it so we can automate it. So a lot of the parts before, a plate would sit on top of another plate like this. Well, it's no problem we have hand welding fixtures, but when you have a robot, you can't have all this fixturing in here because it blocks the robotic arm to be able to get to where it needs to weld. So instead of just having a part sitting on a part, we would actually take a tab, and we'd have a tab laser cut into it, and it would sit into a slot of another part. So the whole thing would puzzle piece together, then go on the robot, so the part would hold itself together and locate. And it makes repeatability next to 100%. I mean, we get no variations in anything that way. Everything is precision laser cut. All of our steel is laser cut.
And the durability of that, it's like second.
Yeah. So there's no voids in that. So how we had to manufacture the box before is we had to kind of piece together a number of parts, fill it in with weld, grind and finish it. Well, it was super labor intensive. When your volume's low, it worked for years, but things have picked up to the point where we can't keep doing that. We'd have a guy running a grinder all day. And
Right.
This doesn't make sense. So we spent the money on the tooling and the dies and the design work to get everything, these two parts forged for us. And we're actually now trying to go like even further with that. So, but yeah, that's all done right here. This is our main unit fixturing in here. This is kind of the more bigger part that we weld. And those are all the stations it goes through. So this particular item right here is like a subassembly, and that subassembly is being welded on the other side while the main unit's being welded. So that subassembly, when it comes out, it goes right back into this fixture and gets welded the rest of the way out. That's where the hitch box gets welded in. All of our welds on the inside gets done. This weld right here is a very important one when it comes to your hitch. This weld right here ties where your spring bars come in.
Sure.
Into where your hitch bar is that's connecting into your truck. This is all one solid weld all the way around there. That's kind of a big deal when it comes to anybody else doing this. Because once it's assembled like this, you can't get in here to weld it. And then that's how we do it that way. We do a station one, we're only doing it.
And I would think that the robotic welding would increase the consistency of the products. You've eliminated the human error.
Correct.
In any welding voids or anything.
It can't skip a weld. And that's the biggest thing with anything in being in manufacturing. If anybody's hand welding anything, there's always a human factor of missing a weld. They might tack it, but they didn't put the weld there, and it moves on and never gets caught until it's on the road. This can't skip a weld. It literally is going down a program point for point for point. There's no indication in the program for the robot to skip a part. Like at my machine center, I can actually put a line of code in that, I want to skip this chunk of code and go to the next thing. This does not have that option. It cannot miss a weld at all. So when we're doing these, when it's going through and welding, it goes line for line, and actually the yoke assembly has like 1,200 points of line. There's 1,200 movements it makes to weld one yoke.
Wow.
Yes.
So it's like an RV checklist, but perfect,
Yeah,
totally
every time.
infallible.
Every time. Yep. And if it can't initiate an arc, so it comes in here, say our welder runs out of wire. We have a 500-pound spool of wire that's feeding a robot. Eventually that runs out. But if it runs out in the middle here and we didn't catch it, if it can't initiate an arc, it stops. The robot shuts down. It will not go any further. It will not progress to the next line of code if it cannot initiate an arc. It actually comes up on the screen, could not initiate arc. So there's the chance of missing a weld is 0%. It cannot move further.
Excellent.
So this whole area over here is where, after we weld everything goes back out for powder coating. When it goes out for powder coating, our powder coater sandblasts all the welds, because on powder coated parts, where the paint is going to chip or start rusting first is at the welds. So he sandblasts all of our welds, because the rest of the part is already clean. The welds are going on there and they got dust and stuff. So he sandblasts everything. Everything gets powder coated. We take a run once a day to powder coat, back and forth. And the parts we take today, we pick up tomorrow morning when we drop off more parts. It's a revolving door at the powder coater. When everything comes back here, this is where we do all of our assembly. So our main hitch head gets assembled here. That's the most labor-intensive assembly we have, is the hitch head. And we'll get a little closer look at that. We also package all of our spring bars here. We throw our manuals, our hardware in with our spring bar packs here. And then in the center there, where you see the box all piled up, you have 2 independently controlled foaming pillow machines. So they're programmed to print out a certain length of plastic film, fill it a certain amount of foam for each box. Put that in there, it's expanding conforming foam. So as it's expanding, we set our part into it, it conforms around it, and then we put a pillow over top.
So kind of like great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been great for us because we used to do it to where you put a whole sheet of plastic, you spray the foam in, you wrap it, and you put it in, and then we put on top, and they encapsulated it so hard that customers loved that they showed up not damaged, but they couldn't get it out of the package. So now we have kind of multiple pillows in it, and you'll notice when you open yours up that you'll have pillows that you'll pull out, and then you can pull your hitch out. So we actually have a mold that we make that the main unit hitch head sits down in a mold, so that it has a certain distance between the main and the bottom of the box. So if FedEx drops it, it doesn't get damaged. So we do have molds over here for that stuff. We'll come over here and take a closer look. So all of our main units get pre-prepped here. We grease everything with AMS oil, marine grade grease. Our greasing station here, all of our bearings get greased here. We get placed in here. Bearings go on the bottom side, our hitch ball gets bolted on. That's a little pre-assembly before it comes over here on our build fixtures, is what Cameron's doing over here. So all of our lower main units are prepped here, all our upper main units are prepped here, and where they come together is over here. So he actually hitches it in like you would normally hitch in your hitch bar into it. But that fixture itself is a rotating fixture. So we can get to both sides of it, put all our axle nuts in, our other side of our bearings in. And once he gets done building it at the station, it goes directly into a box. And that's where those pre-molds come in play. He doesn't have to print out a mold over here. We actually have these already ready to go with an imprint of the hitch.
Excellent.
So when he's done, he just places it in here like this, and Tyler comes over with the rest of the foam pillows and pillows in the rest of your hitch head, closes it up and seals it for shipment. And we'll stack these up here, and he builds 2 main units at a time, so that we can keep our flow going. That's why everything's kind of in one little area right here. And all of our packaging, foaming is in the middle here because all the parts flow towards packaging. All of our jack assemblies over here. We pre-build our yokes for our customers so they don't have to assemble the yokes. They just have to torque them down when they install it. These are all hitch bars in here getting ready to go out. So this is just for today, what you see.
That's amazing.
When they flow out of here, we load them right on a FedEx freight semi, and they're gone.
And they're gone.
It's pretty unique in the manner of we don't use friction, so friction is completely gone from this thing. So a lot of the hitches, what they're trying to do is eliminate the forces that are causing that oscillation in the back by adding friction to it. But at some point, you can't add enough friction to stop the oscillation from happening. So every single hitch out there that uses friction has a failure point, basically. So it's kind of just a Band-Aid. So instead of us doing a Band-Aid to this, we actually solved the problem completely. So the solution to that is changing this pivot point. So we lock out the pivot point, which is normally right here, on the ball, right? So we lock that out on our system. That's what this floating yoke does underneath here. So this locks the trailer from being able to pivot at all on this bolt, right to left. It can't like it normally would. So it still has the same roll and everything that you would normally have with a traditional hitch. So you can still go over all the different terrains and all that stuff, no problem whatsoever. But if it needs to pivot or if it needs to move, it has to move through our system. And we were showing you those spindles earlier. That's what these guys are here.
Yes.
That's the finished product. So instead of it pivoting here, it has to pivot on our system. So that's what this does. So it moves. I know in a lot of our videos, you'll see it like turning corners and doing all kinds of crazy moves and stuff, which is fine. People are like, how does that work on a highway? When you're going down the highway and you're in tow, this thing doesn't move much at all, unless it sees a force. So let's say like a big wind gust comes and hits the side of the trailer because it's a big billboard back there. It basically would maybe slightly move the trailer. So the trailer, so we'll just say this is the truck. The trailer moves slightly over here. if it's a big enough push, it's going to pull the whole unit with it. So it'll pull your truck with it instead of acting independently. So the trailer absolutely cannot act like a lever on the back of your truck anymore with this hitch on there. So instead of your truck being here, your trailer here, when the trailer tries to move this way or sees that wind gust, if that doesn't, the friction doesn't stop that from oscillating, it's going to push your truck the opposite way. That's when you start doing this down the road. So you've either got to do a defensive measure, like kick on your brakes of your trailer, speed up to try and get them equal to back out. But at some point, you just can't do that enough. And you have that oscillation and it just continues. So we lock that out completely. So the magic happens right here in these steering links. And that literally will pitch to one side or the other and transfers that pivot point virtually. So it's still here, but it virtually transfers it up to where your rear axles are. So approximately 52 inches forward from this point. And why people love that so much is that stability. So it acts like a fifth wheel, right? If you've got the fifth wheel kingpin that's right up there, normally, back deck right there at your rear wheels. So it moves as one solid unit. Is the basic bottom line.
With this, I get a fifth wheel
Yeah.
and the entire bed of my truck.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's what we like. It's kind of like a fifth wheel conversion kit for a travel trailer. We like to say that a lot. It works out well. Yeah, and you still have full access for that. You still be able to pull your tailgate down with this hooked up.
Which I can't do right now.
Right, totally can't do that.
So that's one of the
You're able to
things.
use that and get things in and out. It's a lot easier. That's some fringe benefits. And the other cool thing about it, friction is super noisy. I mean, like crazy noisy. So you're pulling in there, it almost sounds like some Jurassic Park theme song coming on with dinosaurs and stuff because it's so loud. This thing is silent. You really don't have anything. You may have a little occasional pop or something, but literally it's silent. It's one unit. Being able to recover as one unit is where it's at.
Yeah, the only thing normally when I hear, because I got a hitch on my trailer, is that these are under a lot of load, like you're really trying to distribute a lot of weight. What'll end up happening is all this movement right here, when you go to turn, when this thing pivots around, there's a lot of turning going on back here, a lot of pushes and pulls on this, with a lot of tension. And if you hear a little creaky, that's all you get. It's like you said, it's next to silent.
Now, is there any maintenance necessary in this or any points that I need to grease off it or
there's
anything?
a couple of grease zerks that are underneath right here. So you'll see on the side here, they're little
Yeah, they're right here.
brass fittings right there. You
Okay.
pump those with grease. That's really the only point of friction on this is just because it's metal to metal in those bushings. It's really not metal to metal. It's still powder coat. But you lube those up so it stays quiet. About every 1,000, 1,200 miles, just pump another couple pieces of grease in there.
Okay, so a regular grease gun with a Zerk fitting.
Yep, that's all. Just a couple pumps. And you'll see it'll come off the bottom here a little bit. Sometimes it'll come off the top of that. And then when you actually unhitch, the end of your finger might have some grease on it. I actually don't mind it because then I know it's not getting stuck in there either. But this is it's a bushing in here. So it is a metal on metal, not metal, but bushing in there. So when it rotates back and forth, if you don't grease that, and then you can start, wearing it too soon or whatever. We've never had anybody have to replace the bushings.
Yeah.
But we also are pretty informative when it comes to greasing that.
Well, that actually brings up a question. It's something that I saw some people talk about. They'll grease the stinger,
Yeah.
they said, so that they, so it goes in easier and everything. So,
Yeah. Let's get a can of that.
yeah.
You can
Okay.
use that inside here. No problem. You can use it on this stuff too. Just keep this linkage nice and pliable too. Heck, you can even use it on this Heim joint here as well. You can use it on there as well. Any of the movable parts, you can easily use it on.
Okay.
Works well.
Yeah, every few months I actually kind of give the whole hitch a bath in the oil.
Yeah.
The reason being is there's a lot of nooks and crannies and all these parts coming together. It could be a little surface rust or something start coming out. I just hose it down with oil and it kind of preserves it.
You can use it for moisturizer as well.
Yeah, it's
I don't think it's recommended.
Probably not. Probably not. So, but yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. It has a lot of people don't even realize, they're like, well, does it even do weight distribution? Absolutely. We showed you the jacks earlier.
So the
That's what
bar,
those
yeah.
bars are. Yep. We use those strictly for weight distribution and just to support the main unit underneath here. So yeah, it's as simple as you never have to take these bars off. So they stay on there. This lives on your trailer basically. Never have to take them off. You basically rotate these, counterclockwise to loosen them, clockwise to tighten them, brings them up back into themselves, lowers it down. It's as simple as that. Each time you hitch and unhitch, you just lower these down so it takes the pressure off, obviously. And also changes the pitch of this. We talked about that a little bit. If you have a goopy side or something, you can change the pitch of that. That's all you got to do. Level this opening out, pull into it, do your over center latches, raise these up to whatever tension you want or designate for your vehicle, and cap them off. So we've got these lunge pins because this thing is actually so smooth. Wes designed these. They're so smooth that they would start unraveling themselves if you didn't have this. So as an afterthought, we put those on there. So
Nice.
same lunge pins that work for the hitch bar assembly to it.
And it's pretty too.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like a
We call
flower.
it the flowers.
Yeah, a flower.
Yeah, when we have to weld them, hey, well, 80 flowers. That's what we tell the guys. So,
Yeah,
you know.
you could almost paint it white with a little
Yeah,
yellow
sure.
on the top there. For sure. But yeah, simple system to use. No frills, easy. No trying to break your wrist, trying to put up your bars. Literally just screwing and unscrewing this thing up here.
Now this is a 3/4 inch.
It is, yep. And we
Right here?
include a ratchet for you. So it includes that. And we also include the breaker bar for your over center latches with the 15/16 socket.
That's what pulls this into here.
That comes with the kit too.
That 3/4 inch will take this cover off too. So if you're getting a lot, we sell a parking lot bar. We call it a lot bar. It's orange. And what we do is, like, if you have to take your trailer in to get service at a dealership, they don't know how to move the trailer with this hitch on. A lot of times, whenever we get calls that their hitch is damaged, it's because they just took it in for service, didn't know how to move it, and they tweaked the hitch around or did something to try to pull the camper inside their shop. So we sell a parking lot bar, and what it does is it goes in here like a hitch bar. You latch it up and it has a 2-inch coupler out here for a 2-inch ball.
Okay.
But if you have a pivot point on the ball out here and you have a pivot point right here, we lock it out with a plate that you pull this cover off with 2 bolts. The bolts are the same size as your jacks, and you insert a plate that goes between these links that locks out the 3P pivoting. And then all the pivoting's done on the ball. You can move it with your tractor, a 4-wheeler, however you need to move your trailer that you don't need to use a stinger for it. You use a parking lot bar for it. Almost every hitch owner ends up buying one anyways. I move my trailer around it at my house with a 4-wheeler, so I need it for that.
Yeah.